All right, well, today I think let's start on our backs. It's a new year. We'll just kind of ease into things. All right, so get yourself settled onto the floor. Hug your knees in. And just take a couple gentle rocks. Even take your knees into some circles. Just allow for the low back to connect into the floor. And then I'm going to give you a few feet options. So if you need a little more grounding today, you're feeling like your energy is a little kind of anxious and nervous feeling, maybe take your feet a little wider and knock your knees together so you can really press the feet into the floor. You're going to feel the low back settle into the floor. If you need a little bit more hip opening today, you can bring the feet together and let your knees fall out. Arms, maybe they rest next to your side if that feels better. If you need a little more in the chest, maybe cactusing the arms or just taking the arms straight out to a T either side. So test out any of those options. And we'll let everything settle into the floor. Go ahead and close the eyes. Slide your shoulder blades down into the ground. Feel the back of the head heavy into the floor. You're going to take a nice slow inhale through the nose. Let your belly and your chest rise. Open the mouth and slowly release. We'll do that again. Breathe in, fill up. Slow exhale out the mouth. And then we'll seal the lips, taking slow breaths in and out of your nose. Feeling the back body melt into the floor. And whether you have your knees together or your knees falling open, relax through the hips. Allow anything that's touching the ground to reach into the ground. Get nice and heavy. Gravity will do the rest. And you might notice some little specks of light or colors or shapes through the eyelids. And we want to get to a place where we're just observing. We're not having to fix anything, do anything necessarily. Take kind of a passive role here. Just start to notice. Notice the colors coming through. Notice the light or the shadows. Notice the feel of the ground underneath you. Notice the temperature of the air in the room. Notice whatever fabrics are touching your skin. We'll allow for this moment here, resting into the ground. Just drop a little pin on where we are. And when we start to fine tune our sensitivities in the body, we can notice more little changes that might be happening. Maybe it's a little twinge that you hadn't noticed before, maybe you had ignored before. Or maybe it's a part of the body that feels really expansive. And we're not here to judge any of the parts of our body that we notice. Just kind of make a little note of it. And these little notes that we're taking and keeping are just for us to have a starting place. And then we'll do the same kind of check-in toward the end of our practice. And you kind of put those notes side by side and see if things might have changed. Something tight might have opened. Something really open and expansive might be a little more grounded. And it's in this process of noticing and observing that where we really get that integration of mind and body and breath. Stay here for 5 more breaths, feeling the chest and the belly rise and fall. And then we'll gently gather the legs and draw them back into the chest. Gentle rock side to side. You might even take your knees a little wider. You want to really feel that low back press into the floor. And then let's reach everything long. Arms overhead, legs long. Take a full body stretch here. Maybe you wiggle the fingers and the toes. Maybe you roll through the wrists. Maybe take a yawn. And then relax the limbs back onto the ground. And we're going to keep your hips and your shoulders connected to the floor. Walk your heels over to the right edge of your mat. You can play with crossing left ankle over right or right over left, just to anchor the legs in this side stretch that we're starting in. And then if you want to add a little more in the upper body, you can take your left wrist with your right hand arching over to the right. Keep the shoulders and the hips on the ground. Feel this long stretch growing through the left side body. And then let that breath move through you. You can take big belly breaths here and really feel those left ribs pushing open. We'll stay here for 3 more. And then bring everything back to center. Let's set up on the other side, heels over to the left edge of your mat, maybe crossing an ankle over the other. If you want to add a little more in the upper body, grab your right wrist with your left hand and arch over to the left. Three more deep breaths here. And gently bring everything back through center. And we'll hug the knees into the chest, relax the low back into the ground, take a little bit of a rock here. And then release your left leg long. We're going to take your right leg up to the sky. Place the fingers behind the right thigh. Keep the soft bend of your right knee. This doesn't have to be anything super huge. So if you need to bend the knee more, go ahead. Just trying to lengthen the back of that right leg. If you feel tight in the ankle, if you're the calf, you might take some rolls here. Or you could point and flex the foot. Take one more breath in. And then bend your left knee. Set the left foot on the floor. And we're going to bend your right knee and cross your right ankle over your left thigh, coming into a figure four. You could stay here, just allowing the right knee to drop forward. If your body's asking for a little more sensation, you can draw the legs closer into the chest, lacing the hands behind your left thigh. But keep the low back relaxed. Let go of any tension through the right hip. And allow the shape of the pose itself to take you into the stretch without having to force anything. We never want to overstretch. We want to get just enough, get ourselves set up, and then gravity and time and breath will do the rest. Check that you haven't clenched up your teeth or your jaw. Your shoulders are staying relaxed into the ground. Take one more breath here. Release out of your figure four. Set your feet on the ground, about mat's width distance. We're going to gently rock the knees side to side like windshield wipers. Take note of how the hips are feeling now. And then we'll set up on the left side. Right leg's going to go long on the ground. Left leg up into the air. Lace the hands behind your left thigh. Feel free to add little ankle rolls, pointing or flexing through the foot. Just maybe noticing also the left side feels different from the right. We always tend to have a dominant side, whether that's in how we stand or walk or sit. We even may have a hip that you lean into more. And those are all going to affect whether things are feeling level or aligned. I was surprised to find I did a DEXA scan maybe like a year and a half ago where they take like a light x-ray of your body and determine how much muscle you have, left leg versus right leg, left arm versus right arm. And my right leg was, I think, 2 pounds more muscle than my left leg. And I thought, man, that's a huge difference. And I realized when I teach yoga and I'm demoing in like a vinyasa class, I always demo the right side first. And so I have a much stronger right thigh. So just something to keep in mind as you move about your day. If you have one side that you tend to favor or that you tend to do first or that you lead with, that might be your more dominant side. We'll take another 2 breaths here. And we'll set up for a figure four. You're going to bend your right knee, set the foot on the ground. Bend your left knee, cross your left ankle over your right thigh. Keep a gentle flex of your left foot. Allow the left knee to drop forward. If you want more than this, you're welcome to bring everything closer into the body, placing the hands behind the right thigh. Last 2 breaths here. And then we'll gently release. Feet go wide, windshield wiper the knees side to side. Okay, we're going to pick a side to roll onto. It doesn't matter which side. Go ahead and press yourself up from there. We're going to find a simple cross-legged seat. We're going to take some seated cat-cows here. So we're going to bring the hands to the front of your knees. You're going to really use these hands to draw the heart through. We're going to lift up. There's an inhale here. As you rock back, you want to tilt your pelvis back, hug your belly button in, round into the spine, and let the head drop. So just move between these two. Inhale, pushing the heart through and up. Exhale, tipping the pelvis back, rounding into the spine. And as you move between these two poses, start taking notes again. Maybe there's right side feeling a little more tight. If that's the case, you might take a little bit of a side to side, try to open that right side. Maybe you're feeling really tight through the abs or the chest. You might add a little bit of a neck roll here, or again, play with a little bit of side to side. So you can really make this your own. Pause where you need a little bit more time. Maybe it just feels good staying in one side or the other, and take a couple breaths there. Maybe you want to make this a little bit more circular. I kind of take little hula hoop movements, and you can feel some good cracks and pops along the spine that you didn't realize that you needed. We'll take a few more breaths here. And then come back to a neutral spine, sitting tall. Bring your hands on top of your thighs so that you get a little bend of the elbows. Roll the shoulders a couple times up and back. And then we'll drop the shoulders down. And you can either keep the hands palms down onto the thighs. That'll add a little bit of heat and grounding. Or if you're feeling like you need a little bit more receptive offering, turn the palms up. We're going to stay here seated for a moment, feeling the stack of the spine, feeling the sits bones connecting into the floor, and noticing the breath move through the body. If you tend to have a mind that's racing, what I recommend is counting your breaths. How many counts does it take to get to the top of your inhale? How many counts does it get to the bottom of your exhale? And if you're in the 3 to 4 range, maybe try getting it to 5. If you find your mind wandering still, maybe add a little bit more to it and add it to 6. Pay attention to the breath here. Does it feel smooth? Does it feel like it gets stuck anywhere? You want to make it feel almost like the ebb and flow, waves coming to the shore and the water receding. There's a micro pause at the top before the breath comes back down, and there's a micro pause at the bottom before you bring the breath back in. Two more slow breaths here. Flutter the eyes open. We're going to take a seated twist from here. So right hand's going to find the floor behind you. Left hand's going to cross over to your right knee. Inhale, grow the spine long. Exhale, start to turn, maybe even looking over your right shoulder if that feels okay on the neck. If you're needing a little bit of a neck stretch here, you might slowly alternate between chin pointing toward the right shoulder and then chin pointing forward past the left shoulder and going back and forth between the two. Two more breaths here. Keep your left hand where it is on your right knee. Keep your torso turned to the right. We're going to take your right arm and float it up and over past your left knee. So we're staying on our twist and adding a side bend. You're going to feel a nice big opening, right side body wrapping into the lats. One more breath here. Inhale your way back up. Release out of your twist. We're going to come through center. Just pause here for a moment, feeling any residual sensation in the right side body. Maybe you notice it on the sides of the neck. You're ready to set up on the other side. We're going to take our twist first, left hand back. Right hand crosses over to your left knee. Inhale, get tall. Exhale, find our gentle turn. You have that option again of rotating the head and the neck. Adding a little bit more stretch here, or you can stay static, working with the twist breath by breath. Two more breaths here. And then keep your right hand on this left knee. You're going to keep the twist moving to the left. Take your left arm up and over past your right knee. Coming into our side bend with a twist. Last breath here. Inhale to come all the way back up. Release out of your twist, pause and center. Notice the sensations on the left side body. Okay, we're going to change the cross of the legs. It's going to be your awkward leg in front. And then we're going to take the hands behind where you're going to try to find opposite elbows. We're going to open up the chest here. You're going to start to feel some squeeze of the shoulder blades behind you. Pause here for a moment, just feeling the chest expand. And then keeping the arms behind, drop your chin down towards your chest. Keep taking the shoulder blades behind. And start to feel a stretch in the back of the neck. So we're keeping the spine long, letting the chin get heavy as the head falls forward. Arms are still wrapping back behind. If you notice your shoulders start to creep up toward the ears, just relax them, bring them back down. Your hands are just holding your arms in place. Okay, and then we're going to gently roll your left ear towards your left shoulder, opening up the right side of the neck. And you kind of play with this so it doesn't have to be all the way over and static. You might go back and forth from center over to the right. Sorry, over to the left, I should say. You can also play with tipping the chin down, bringing the chin back forward. A little bit of room here for exploration, getting that side of the neck. Give yourself one more breath here. Roll your head back through center. We're going to lift the head up through center. Go ahead and release your arms. We're going to grab for opposite shoulder blades. It's going to look like a bear hug. You're going to crawl your fingers back behind. Just take note of which arm you're starting with on top. We'll make sure to switch on the other side. And then kind of like when we were in our seated cat-cow, you're going to tilt the pelvis back a little. You're going to round into the upper back. And then you might add a little bit of a side to side. Kind of twist here. You're going to start to feel some opening between the shoulder blades. All right, release. I'm going to sit back tall. Take the arms back behind. This time, whichever arm wasn't on top, I'm going to switch it up. It's always my awkward side, so I try to find my elbows and my arms here. Open through the chest. Get those shoulder blades as close to each other as you can. Sit up tall. And then we're going to drop the head, chin to the chest. Keep sliding the shoulder blades back and behind. Take a few breaths here, back of the neck, feeling the weight of the head. And then we're going to gently roll right ear toward the right shoulder. And again, this doesn't have to be static. You can add a little bit of movement here, exploring the stretch on the left side of the neck. One more breath here. And bring the chin back to center. We'll slowly lift the head. You can release the arms from behind. We're going to go for that bear hug with the opposite arm on top, trying to find those shoulder blades back behind. We're going to round into it, belly button back. Again, maybe a little bit of a rock. And then we'll release and sit up. All right, we're going to come into cobbler's pose where we're going to give ourselves a lot of space to move those feet a little bit more forward than you normally would when we're doing more of like a groin stretch, right? So we're going to push those feet forward. Make sure your sit bones can find the floor behind you. Wherever you can find spot for your hands on the side, or inside, or the feet. We're going to start just by rocking the pelvis forward. I'm getting a really long spine here. Keep the shoulders relaxed. And then without losing this length of your spine, we're going to start to walk forward however far that you can go. If you have props at home, if you have blocks or anything, you could always kind of make a little stack and letting the head rest onto those blocks. If you're close enough to the floor, you might bring forearms, or you could stack a fist. It's trying to work that way. So I'll leave it up to you, whatever allows you to stay supported without losing that length in the spine. So for any of these poses, we always want to start pretty low on the intensity level. I'd say maybe like 50%. And you might find over time that your body starts to open and give a little more. And so by the time we get out of a pose, you might be closer to 70%, 80%. Last thing that I want for you to do is starting at 90% and then suffering the whole time. So there's no need to jump all in. Start a little softer, ease into it. One more breath here. And we're going to gently come back up. All right, let's find a blanket or a towel, something that you can roll up into a long cylinder. If you have like a long cushion, that also works. And we're going to put it horizontally toward the back of your mat. We're going to set ourselves up for a gentle heart opener. So you want to be able to roll down, let your shoulder blades go above the blanket. I'm very close to my plant here. So you want to get those shoulder blades above the blanket so that the blanket ends up right underneath the middle of the chest. Now, for a little bit more opening, you can take these arms in a cactus or out to the sides. The legs, again, you've got a few options here. Legs can be long, feet can be together, knees out. You can come back to that more grounding. Feet on the floor, wide, knees together. You'll keep your feet on the floor. And we're gonna let our prop do most of the work here, just lifting the chest back up. And we're gonna relax everything else around it down. Back to those really slow, even breaths. If you have a wandering mind, maybe come back to counting. Notice if there's anywhere along the body that's resisting this heart opening. And we will surrender to gravity here for the next few breaths. One more breath here. We'll send the feet back to the floor. Roll over to one side just so that you can bring this blanket out from underneath. And then we'll come back onto the back. You'll keep your blanket toward the left side of your mat. Hug your right knee into the chest, nice and tight. Extend your left leg long. Maybe you take this knee a little bit of a side to side, feeling whatever you need to feel in the hip. We're going to move this right knee all the way across over to the left, finding our blanket. Pick up your hips, shift them over to the right a little. And then we're going to open the chest, taking the right arm back behind. Relax the low back muscles and the belly muscles. One more breath here. Bring everything back through center. Reset the hips, hug the knees into the chest. We'll go ahead and move our blanket to the other side. Draw your left knee in, extend your right leg long. Take a moment here, just feeling through this left hip. And when you're ready to take your twist, we'll move your left leg all the way over to that blanket on the right. Shift the hips to the left and allow for the left arm to open. One more breath in. And then gently bring everything back through center and reset your hips. Hug your knees into the chest. You might take the knees wide, grabbing the feet for happy baby. Any final little movements here that your body needs, feel free to add. And when you're ready for Shavasana, what I recommend is if you are experiencing low back stuff, bring this blanket underneath your knees so that you get a little lift under the knees here. Allowing for everything to relax down. If you're feeling like you have a lot of stuff going on in your feet and your ankles, you might take your legs up a wall or even just onto a couch or something. We've got this option here. Letting the shoulder blades relax, arms out. If you have other props at home, feel free to pile it on. If you have a warm, cozy blanket to put on top, if you have an eye pillow, if you want something for behind the head, we'll let the feet flop open. No more effort or tension through the legs, through the arms. I'm going to rock the head a little side to side, make sure that the back of the neck is feeling relaxed. Easing out any final little knots that might be lingering. Flatten those shoulder blades all the way down into the ground. We'll close the eyes here. 3 cleansing breaths together. Big inhale through your nose. Open mouth, exhale, release. And big breath in. Let that go. Last one, breath in. And breath out. Let your breath come back to a natural pattern. Feel the rise of the belly and the chest as you breathe in. And then allowing the body to deflate and melt down as you breathe out. Scan through the body here. Noticing anything that might still be hiding through the toes, through the arches of the feet. Letting go of any tension that's in the ankles or the calves. Relax the quads to let go of any holding through the kneecaps. Feel the full weight of the back of the pelvis as it rests into the ground. Soft belly. Let go of any tension through the fingers, the palms of the hands, and the wrists. Relaxing the forearms, biceps, the triceps. Letting the elbows fall into the ground. Feeling the collarbones widen with each breath in. And the shoulder blades meeting the floor with each breath out. If you were to take the notes of your body scan now, how does it look compared to the notes at the beginning of our practice? Maybe the practice made you more aware of certain areas that you hadn't been giving much attention to. Maybe the practice allowed you to finally release a part of the body that's been holding on a little tight for too long. The whole last year of our lives have been on pause, on sacrifice, on doing what we needed to do for survival. And as we start to move into the new year, where would you like to see your path go? Where would you like to invite more ease? Where do you feel you need to add more strength? Where can you find balance between the two? Begin to deepen your breath. Bring small movements back into the fingers and the toes. Roll through your wrists and your ankles. Reach your arms overhead, full body stretch. Yawn, move your jaw around. We'll draw the knees into the chest. Roll over to your left, coming to fetal position. Rest the head on the arm as a little pillow. Keeping the eyes closed yourself, press your way up to the comfortable seats. We'll bring the palms to touch at heart center. Soften the shoulders, relax the jaw. Let's seal our practice tonight with a single Om. First, you're going to take a full breath in through your nose. Sigh that breath out. Inhale to chant. Om. Namaste. All right, how did we do?